Welcome to Taking a Career Break with Katrina McGhee, the show for high achievers who are feeling burned out, unfulfilled, and ready to dream big.
Hi there, I'm Katrina, your career break and sabbatical coach, author of the best-selling Taking a Career Break for Dummies, and your co-host.
And I'm James Hammond, your co-host and producer. If you are ready to take a life-changing break for a happier, healthier, and a more fulfilling life, then you're in the right place.
I'm going to break down my proven framework that has helped over 200 clients achieve transformative breaks. Are you ready to change your life? Let's go.
Before we dive in, if you are a regular listener and you enjoy this free podcast, please give us a positive 5-star review. Subscribe on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or any of the podcast apps that you listen on.
Or share this episode with a friend who really needs it so we can keep this great podcast going. Okay, on to the show.
Hello and welcome to episode 54. This is a client story, making the impossible possible. Katrina, how are you doing?
I'm excited to be here, and I'm really excited to share a client story today because that's something I'm thinking I might try to do more of. So if you guys like it, if you're listening to this and you're like, more of that, please, like leave a comment, send us a note, something, a DM, let us know that you like it. But I think sometimes peeling back the curtain can be really helpful to show what overcoming massive amounts of fear and feeling like a break is impossible could actually look like for someone.
Great. And client stories are great because I think it gives a real human side to the stuff we discuss, because obviously you can always give tips and structures and corporate words, whatever, but I think people do need to hear the real life stories, right? I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, I'm not going to give personally identifying information in this story, but I am gonna give you some specifics on like what it looks like to face an insane amount of fear and to feel like you can't take a break, and then how you do it, and then what happens after you do.
Okay. So tell us the angle.
Yeah.
Or was that the angle you just said?
No. Yeah. I mean, this is basically for you. This episode's going to be interesting for everyone. But I think if you are someone who feels almost a paralyzing sense of fear when you think about taking a break, this is going to show you like, okay, I'm not alone in that. And this is how, someone else was able to do it. And I think what's really interesting about this particular client is that he was feeling like, he was literally crumbling under the pressure of all of the work stuff, like true burnout, like not just like, oh, I'm burnt out and life is really hard. I mean, like actual physical, mental symptoms of really pervasive and persistent burnout.
Mm-hmm.
But he felt like the world would fall apart if he stopped carrying it or holding it up with his hands. It was like he had the weight of the world and it was pushing him into the ground. And there was no like good end to the story, but he felt like, even though I know it's going to like break me eventually and maybe kill me, I can't put this down, because if I put this down, the world ends. And so it was this really like no-win dilemma that he felt like he was in. And I think, that's something people can relate to. Like, yeah, I would love to take a break, but I can't, because if I put this down, my world will fall apart.
Which is a very natural feeling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not uncommon.
Yeah, it's not uncommon. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So talk us through the client story.
Yeah. So, like I said, he was honestly, it was not even really on his radar to take a break. I think he knew he needed things to stop, but his brain wouldn't even let him consider the possibility enough to articulate what that would look like or how he would make that happen. So actually, this story originates with his wife. So she's perusing Barnes and Noble, obviously like worried about her husband, worried about his health, worried about like all of the weight that he's carrying around, emotionally, energetically with his job and everything. And she sees my book, which is honestly shocking because I have been to Barnes and Noble many times across many states in the US, and they always put it on the very bottom shelf, like with just the little spine. And I'm like, no one's ever going to see my book. So I feel like the universe wanted her to find this book. So she sees my book. She's like, oh my God, there's a book on this, because she wants him to take a break. So she buys the book. She reads it. She said in 2 days, like she just goes through it like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Right. And she just feels like this is great, but like it's not enough for him. Like, I want to know if she takes clients. So she schedules a discovery call. Okay. And she's like, my husband needs a break. I would love to do a call. Let's do a call with all 3 of us. Okay. So I'm going to set the stage. We get on this discovery call and it's the 3 of us, right? He's the breadwinner by far. He's making, the money. I think she had a part-time job that she had started, but like,
Hmm.
primarily their income, their household of, four, like rested on his shoulders. And he feels a lot of pressure to keep going. He was so kind and so nice on that call, but also kind of paralyzed. Like, it was like I was talking, but like I had to talk to both of them because I think there were times where even just thinking about this felt overwhelming.
Hmm.
And, like the energy that he was bringing and kind of how he would articulate it, I think, is like, I know I'm drowning, but I can't get off the sinking ship. And it was like, yeah, I know I need this. He wasn't arguing against the idea of taking a break, but he was like, I don't see how this is possible,
Possible. Yeah.
right? I don't see how it's possible. And, she's like, we can figure out the finances. We can get a little bit more frugal and thrifty. She was like, I got a part-time job to kind of help with some income stuff. Like, we can do this. And his brain was just like, literally everything will explode if you try to take a break. So we did this discovery call. I thought it went pretty well. Like, I gave them some information. I answered, some questions. I asked some questions, and I know that he really wanted and needed a break. But then it was radio silence. Okay. So like a month or two goes by and I don't hear from them. Of course, I send like a follow up, like right
Hmm.
away, but I don't hear from them. And that's normal. Sometimes people reach out to me and then they ghost and they're gone for like months. And then they come back and they're like, okay, I'm ready. Like sometimes it's just facing that fear and getting your ducks in a row and feeling like you're ready for that. But, I had checked in with her about 2 months later and she reached back out and she was like, he needs a break and he he knows that he needs this. I know that you are the one that can help him. We believe in you, but he's just never going to be ready to pull the trigger. So she's like, I'm going to do this for him. She was like, I'm hiring you. I'm making this decision.
Oh,
Send me the link to pay. We're
yeah.
doing this. And man, the amount of responsibility I felt because it
Yeah.
wasn't just him, it was her. Like they were trusting me, right, to take care of him and to help somebody who needed a break but literally thought it was impossible, how to create possibility with them. And that is such a gift. And it also, I'm just going to be so real. It's really scary, right? Because
Hmm.
it's like I have the tools, I know the things, and I show up with so much like love and dedication for every client that hires me that I know I'm not going to stop until they get a result, but I never know what that's going to look like and I never know what their journey is going to be. And so it's always scary like when somebody really needs it because it feels
Yeah.
very high stakes, but I'm like I'm their only hope, so we're doing this. So we did it. And she's like, he's still stuck. He's not making a decision. He's paralyzed. So like I'm deciding for him. Let's do this. So leap
Can I
of
ask one more
faith.
question?
Yeah.
Just quickly. What age is he?
He was in his mid 40s.
Got it. Okay.
Like
Very
I would guess 47, 48.
so that midlife crisis term thing that's thrown around, that sort of area of life, really. It's
Yeah,
40s to
well, it's like
50s, isn't it?
mid-career. Yeah, it's like mid-career. One of his kids had just gone to college, and I think the other one was about to, possibly. Like his kids were like older kids. But like he'd been working for a long time, was a manager of people, managed a lot of the things, and I think felt really ingrained in his role at the company, and just like he couldn't leave. He part of
Yeah.
his thing was I'm gonna let down the people I work with and they're gonna like the company is going to implode without me because there were lots of problems that he was always fixing. In fact, he was fixing them at like 2 a.m. or 5 a.m. when things would break because I think his job was IT related. And so
Yeah.
that was just compounding the sense of burnout, right? But that was like he was always on call, but he was like, what's going to happen if I'm not there? Like they're barely holding it together without me. Like, how are they going to hold it together when I'm gone? To that, I just want to say, if this is you and you relate to that statement I just made, should they keep holding it together or does that thing need to break so
Yes.
badly that they realize they have to recreate it from the ground up? If you're dreaming of your own career break or sabbatical, or if you're on one right now, I want you to know about the one place that's designed to give you everything you need, BreakSpace. It's your launch pad for a life-changing break. Inside, you'll find courses to build your break blueprint and redesign your life. Plus, there's live coaching calls, expert-led masterclasses on everything from finance to re-entry, and a global community with dozens of people on the same exact journey. You don't have to do this alone. We've supported hundreds of breaks, and yours could be next. Find out more and learn how to join us at gobreakspace.com.
Yeah,
Right?
long term, it's good to break it first and then build it back up.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I find situations like this, when you hear these sort of stories, that People get to their mid 40s, early 50s where they're in that position where the kids are grown up or they're growing up. They're pretty much at
Yeah.
college age. And you've been just gunning it for 20 years because you kind of had to, right? You probably had to look after the kids. You're just in autopilot mode. And you get to the point where you actually think, oh, personally, you know, selfishly, what have I done? Like, I've just been working for 20
Yeah.
years. So I think that's why a lot of people ask these questions in their mid 40s, early 50s. And unfortunately, in the society we're in, they buy a car. That's a good thing, isn't it? I'm going to buy a Jaguar. I'm like, oh, it's the worst thing you can do. So I think this is good that you got in there at this time because he can really think about the really important stuff. Like he just needs a break. He needs to let that company kind of go, not bust, but, back down and back up again. So yeah, let's go on to the story for the journey, part 3.
Yeah. And, I'll just say too, like, I don't even think he had the space to have a midlife crisis. Like, I think he was having a health crisis. Do you know what I mean? Like, it
Well,
was,
yeah, health is part of it, right? Yeah.
yeah, because it was like he wasn't even like existentially, is this what I want? I mean, he knew the answer was no, but he was just like, I am breaking down. Like 3 a.m. work call. I mean, are you serious?
Oh,
So, anyway,
yeah.
what happens when we start working together? Well, first he gets the pre-work. So for
Yep.
anybody that ever does the intermission package with me or does a coaching intensive, you will get some extensive pre-work. It's not overwhelming, but it's definitely extensive because I want to get in there and see like what are the deep issues that have been pervasive or persistent in your life? Like, what are those limiting thoughts that you're carrying with you? What might be some of the sort of underlying triggers for how you got to a place of burnout? Like, where are your boundaries leaky? Like, what kind of thoughts do you have about productivity and worth and all of that stuff that's like contributing to this, right? Because we got to deal with that stuff if we want your life during the break and after the break to be better. So he did his pre-work and he completed most of it. I think there was a little bit of it that he felt a little overwhelmed by just like answering some deeper questions, but he did it. And he was honestly one of my favorite clients. And he showed up to that first session and he was so good. He would show up and he would do his homework and he would do it, but he would be honest. And he was like, I got to be honest. Like, I did the pre-work. It was interesting stuff. He's like, but I'm still struggling to see how this can be a real thing. He was like, I'm just going to be honest because I
Yeah.
want to know,
Fair
right?
enough.
I wanted to know where he was at. He was like,
Yeah.
I liked it, but I really still don't see how this can be a real thing. And I'm like, don't worry, my dude. We've got a lot more sessions to go. Um, so we started working together, right? And we
Yeah.
started planning the foundation of his break, but then also doing a lot of the life coaching stuff to figure out like, how do we reframe beliefs that are working against you? And how do we make sure that you are designing and living a life that you really want to live instead of just taking a break, but then not loving life then, you know? So one of the things that became very clear to him even in the intake process with me, is that I'm a life coach, I'm a career break coach, but I'm not a therapist. And because
Mm.
again, he was having a lot of like mental health stuff coming on with the burnout, right? Like just, like work beating him down and it's like how am I managing my stress? How am I, like creating space for processing my stress and my, like really like stressful moments. So he ended up working with a therapist at the same time that he was working with me for
Hmm.
for that period and it was super helpful. So I
Yeah.
just want to note that if you are struggling and you feel like you need the help, the guidance, the direction, the support, but you're also like, I feel like I might need a care team, right? Like, I feel like this might be
Mm.
some deeper stuff from before that I'm carrying with me. And maybe I'm really trying to focus on my mental health too. You know, coaching doesn't have to be the only support. Like, I think you need to get support for what you need support with. If you're struggling with your health and you need to do labs and things like that to try to find out what's going on, like getting a health coach or working with specialist, a doctor, something like that, so just think about it as a care team. So I was a leader in his care team, but he definitely had like a small care team around him. So I think getting the support you need is important.
Mm-hmm.
And then we just really like leaned into addressing fears as they came up. And I remember one of his initial fears was that taking a break was selfish. And he was like,
Mm.
I mean, this man, again, like literally was crumbling under just the vast amount of responsibility, weight, pressure, like lack of self care, that the job allowed for, all the things. And he felt worried about everyone else. And he was like, I feel like I'm letting my partner down and my family, because I'm supposed to be making money. Like, what's going to happen if,
Mhm.
like the stock market tanks or, like the job market implodes and then I can't find another job? Like, we're all going to be, screwed. But also, it was his team. It was like, again, they're struggling already. We're just holding it together and I'm kind of the glue. Like, what if I walk away? And one of my reframes for him, which is what coaching is, right? Like
Mhm.
rethinking and choosing different perspectives is like selfish is when you do something and you don't care about other people. And I was like, the reason you haven't even taken a break yet is because you care so
Yeah.
much about other people that you're neglecting yourself.
Mhm.
And radical self care does not immediately imply that you give zero F's about anyone else.
Mhm.
It just means that you care and are prioritizing your well being in this season of your life. And that really helped him to reframe what selfish is and to realize that taking a break wasn't selfish. It can feel uncomfortable and it can feel like I'm still worried about people, but I'm not a selfish person for leaving the sinking ship to save myself, And I think he really had some of those reframes to give himself permission. So he ended up, starting with a leave of absence at work to just kind of
Oh,
see
okay.
how that
Yeah.
recovery went. And when it became clear that he was doing all the right things, but that recovery was going to be a long journey, which I think we all knew that, but it's like, try what works. Sometimes you have to take one
Mm.
step before you take
Yeah.
four steps.
Mhm.
Then he resigned and started his career break. And we had his themes together. He was working on his themes. And one of his coolest moments, which this is when I knew like there was a new version of this dude emerging, is he had an office that used to be like a podcast studio because he did his own personal podcast and stuff. And he just liked
Oh, yeah.
to nerd out on things and have
Yeah.
fun, and there were like a bunch of figurines and stuff in his office. Like he was into sci-fi. Like it was really cool. But that office had turned into like the work office, like post-COVID. And the stress of work, the demands of work, the 3 a.m. calls, like the like never ending fires that he was always putting out made it so that just walking into that office felt energetically
Yeah.
stressful. Like
Absolutely.
the energy,
The
right, was
environment.
just,
Yeah.
yeah, the environment was contracting, like
Mm.
really just triggering. And several months into being on a break and us doing our work, his space was like clear. Like he cleaned it up and gotten rid of some things, obviously, because he had quit his job. And it just started to look brighter. And it was like, yeah, he was like, "Yeah, I've reclaimed my office," and he turned it back into a podcast room, but it also cleared the energy of what was there. And I feel like that is sort of a metaphor in a way for what we do, with our internal selves when we take a break. But it was like I was like, "Okay, this guy, this is really taken root." Like I knew at that point, like he's reclaimed this space that was once kind of like the literal like physical representation of what was wrong in his life, and he has gone in and cleared it and rebuilt it from the ground up. So we worked together over the course of 8 months.
Mhm.
We did a lot of sessions up front and then we kind of started spacing them out towards the end. But one of the best compliments I've ever received was what he told me at the very end of our coaching package. And that was that I was like his Clarence. So he referenced the movie, I think it's A Wonderful Life, I think is what it's called.
Okay.
And Clarence is like the angel that is following this guy around, and he was like, "I feel like you were just my angel, like directing me towards the light because I wasn't going to get there on my own, and you just stayed with me and you guided me into the place that I needed to be and into a future that is so much brighter than the one I could imagine." He was like, "You saw it for me when I couldn't see it for myself." And so, it's been a while since we worked together, and his wife is on my email list still, which I love, and she sends me messages sometimes, which I really love. And I got an email from her a couple months ago, and it had been a year since he quit his job. And she was like,
Oh.
he is doing so well. And she's like, he's thriving. And she was like, he still refers back to his themes. And it has inspired me to create my own themes, even though I'm not on a break. And she was like, you have really changed the trajectory of our life. And I feel like I have my husband back. And it's so great to see him doing so well. So
And I guess people want to know, like, his new role. I assume he went back into work, is in a new company, and it's a
he did
role that's
not. No,
less. No.
no, he
Oh.
is one of those people who looked at his finances and
Yeah.
knows that he does not need a corporate job at this point to be okay. So he is doing
Wow.
some part-time stuff. And he's kind of ramping back up into it, right? Like she's doing her
Right.
part-time and she's
Yeah.
excited about what she's doing, so she's growing that, and he's kind
Yeah.
of doing a part-time, and it's like, what do we need to like make ends meet? But we don't have to be, because they were very good about saving for retirement and investing,
Mm.
all those things. Like they were very financially wise in all the years that he was making good money. And so they're like, we don't have to be trying to get so far ahead
Mm.
of the game all the time at the expense of our present moment and our well-being. And so they're kind of in a cruise control where they're doing some things, but they're really focused on like enjoying life.
Yeah. I wonder if people get to that point and go, there's so much worry about finances, right? And it gets to that point 8
Hmm.
months down the line, a year down the line, look back and go, oh, it wasn't that bad, was it? Or, yeah, I did miscalculate that a little bit. Or I put too much emphasis on actually earning that amount of money where
Yeah.
actually I didn't actually need that much. Right? I do wonder if people get to that point where it's actually more about financial education as well, about what they actually
Yeah.
have and what they actually need to live off and what they don't actually need, maybe.
Well, yeah. And I think I actually hear this a lot, and it's from the aspect of when you hate your life or your job is draining you, there are a lot of things that you're spending money on for convenience, to buy back your time,
Yes. Yeah.
to numb out and or to justify, right? Like the life that you have. So I know I did this when I had my six-figure salary corporate job. I was, buying things and eating out and doing things that were really expensive to justify having and keeping this job, because it's like this job affords me the ability to do these things and I don't like my job.
Mm.
Therefore, I'm going to at least take advantage of the things I can do because of the job. But then it becomes like a reinforcing loop where you feel like these are the things that are making my life feel a little bit of joy, like a tiny bit of joy. And if I
Hmm.
give up this job, then I have to let go of them. But what you're overlooking is that there are a million things that can bring you joy that don't cost as much and arguably bring you more joy. And when you have the time and the mental capacity and the emotional capacity to really just be present for those things, and you buy back your time, by quitting or taking a
Yeah.
break, you have the ability to like live a very rich life. It just looks different.
Yeah, amazing. That's a great story. Thanks for
Yeah.
sharing. Appreciate
Yeah.
that. And I
I was
think people
happy
will
to do
take a
it.
lot from that, I think.
I hope so. I hope
Get,
so. So
get on
tell
that
us,
break.
tell us if you want more client stories. I'm happy to share.
Yeah, great. And obviously BreakSpace can help out with that, can't they?
Absolutely. Join us in BreakSpace, or you can even hire me as your coach.
Of
I
course.
have to say, I do a pretty good job. I'm a pretty good coach. So if you feel like one-on-one is more your jam and like you want something like more hand-holding and just more personal, like I am taking one-on-one clients, but if you want to be in a community and that's more of your vibe, like join BreakSpace. Either one is great. They're great options.
Both links are in the show notes if people want to click that. So check it out.
Perfect.
Great. See you next episode.
Alrighty.
Want to leave the rat race behind? Come check out BreakSpace. It's a new community for current and aspiring career breakers and sabbatical takers, just like you, who are ready for a life-changing experience. BreakSpace is a one-of-a-kind launchpad with hands-on coaching, dynamic courses, and genuine connection. Don't go it alone. Visit breakspacecrew.com to see what all the hype is about.